Hi, my name's Slavia Lisievich. I'm a woodworker, collector, and dealer, and I've been a member of Midwest Tool Collectors since '99, and I've met all the people I hang around with are all woodworkers that are all within this small community of ours. And Carl Bilderback, who I'm going to be interviewing, is one of the class acts of Midwest Tool Collectors and the woodworkers in the area. He's a long-time collector on 40 years. He's a finished carpenter. He's a foreman for a big woodworking company here in Chicago. And one of my friends that I worked with in business for 7-8 years worked at the same company, and it was funny, a small world, how everybody knows each other. And so I've gotten to know Carl, and that got me more into collecting. Like, I'm a user, a hardcore woodworker, but I like my nice tools. Give you an example. Carl likes rare saws. This is an early Diston right here, and it's just stamped Henry Diston. This is a real early split nut and all of that. But what Carl likes, and what rubbed off on me and a lot of people, is Carl likes shiny. He likes shiny tools, and he makes signs of that at shows, I like shiny. And so he's got a little bit of everything, planes, chisels, a variety of stuff you'll see, eclectic, old, new. He's got Lee Nielsen Veritas, and he's got the old Stanleys. He's got a working set of tools. He's a finished carpenter, but he could easily go into cabinet making and furniture making. He's got the hand skills. He's been interviewed on Popular Woodworking. He's done quite a few articles for them, bandsawing. He's really good. I tip my hat to him. And he's got a fabulous collection. We'll see his shop. His collection. The Panther saws he's repaired, and he's got a couple Putty Cat saws laying around that we'll be able to see. And he's got a little bit of everything. This is a plain Miller Falls with the translucent handles, red handles, that he put in an auction in LaPorte, Indiana, that I won. I was hoping to get the Panther saw restored, but I got this instead, and I'm happy to have this. He's got a fabulous collection of a full set of Berg chisels in the box. We'll see that at his place. He's got a couple infills like this. This is an old Matheson, but he's got a Bob Baker that's fabulous. A few of those. Stanley planes from 1 to 8, all kinds of weird stuff. He's got the new stuff, Lee Nielsen Veritas. Levels. This is a Davis. He's got a bunch of Davis levels, and he's like, I collect tape measures. I like my Lufkin stuff, and he's got new in the box stuff from planes, chisels, little bit of everything, and you'll just be amazed. We could just get lost in his basement for hours and hours.
There's
this,
by the way, will be this will be the 17th Panther head saw that I've worked on for people, and there was at one time a belief that there are only maybe about 6 of them in existence, but since the internet,
yeah, they've come out.
But
it's still a rare saw.
It's still a rare saw, but it's nowhere nearly as rare as it was originally thought to be.
Yeah.
And
you see the Panther head right here. The last one you fixed was just a head.
The head had been cut off, and I recarved the head and reconstituted the handle on that one.
Yeah,
and
seeing that was
this
wild.
This one belongs to a guy in where is it? He's from I think Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh wow!
I picked it up at the last Midwest meeting, and this one is another repair job for someone, but this one needed an entirely new handle, and so that's what I'm working on this one. And as you can see, I cheat.
Oh yeah. You showed me that.
I use Xerox copy of another handle,
That's why.
and then that's how I can get. It even gives you where you begin the curvature and so forth on the shadow lines.
Yeah. What's the name on this one?
Well, it's a rare saw.
Truett
Brothers and Company.
Wow.
And
Oh, that's going to be wild.
so
Beautiful.
it's just another project. And by the way, as I think you already know this, I believe, but I don't charge for this. This is a service that I render to other members of Midwest Tool Collectors Association.
Yeah, and you also bribe them too, blackmail them.
Well, I blackmail them into becoming a member. If they're not a member, I won't fix their saw.
Yep.
Unless they join.
Best $25 they ever spent.
Yeah.
Where's that picture of all the panther saws you fixed?
The panther saws?
Yeah.
You mean the one, I have a card up there that shows the process for repairing panther head saws. It's one that needed quite a lot of work right here.
Oh yeah.
That is, that's a board that shows the process of, I don't know how well you can see this, but this is what I received to make this. And these are the steps in between.
And there's 17 you've done?
The one that I'm having
numbers?
that I have to start on there is number 17. This one was about number 13 or 12 or 13, something like that. I don't remember. But this was done as a presentation at one of the Midwest meets, and that I went through the process.
Is that where they call you a saw luminary? Pages up?
No, I've never attained that title.
Oh yeah. Yes you did.
Saw luminary is, there's only one that I know of.
Who's that?
I can't recall his name.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the process. There's new wood has to go in. There are extra holes that have been punched through this that have to be in some way repaired, like here and here. Those are difficult things to do and make it come out like this, where you don't see that anymore.
Let's see some shiny ones.
Shiny saws?
Yeah. This for the saw boys out there.
Well, look behind you and you'll see some shiny saws.
Right here you can see just a couple.
Well, you can pull some of those out. There's some right there too.
You don't want this, Carl, do you? You don't want this. Yeah, I'll take this home, no problem. Very rare.
Well, these are some of my better pieces, but I've run out of space for them. I have 4 panther head saws that belong to me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is the small.
That's the rare one. Is that the type 1?
This is the type 1. This is what I call a type 1 because of the etching that's on the blade, and it's a bit different on the etching. And by the way, that's, as you know, that's the thing that is tough to find, is a panther head saw with a good etching. I have 2 with a good etching, and I have 2 with no etching at all. So that, but the most common thing that you find is no etching at all. And They are difficult to find with an etching on the blade.
Yeah.
These are just saws in unused condition, not particularly rare, but just collected because I like shiny.
I was telling him about that.
Yeah.
Shiny.
Yeah,
Shiny
like
is good.
I like the shiny stuff. As one time I told Don Rosebrook that I liked shiny, and he says, well, so do I. I don't know why everybody doesn't. So,
Oh, I see something here. I see
What?
something here.
oh, that. Oh, yes. Yes, I am a published author.
Yes, pink.
Pinky's up, everyone, yeah. I've had 5 different articles that were published in national magazines, 4 in this magazine and 1 in another competitor magazine. But the fact of the matter is, this is a phony. I was never on the cover. This is a phony that I had to make up for.
I plastered this on WoodNet a couple times, so
Yeah,
it was,
yeah, yeah.
I had to take advantage of it. It's a great picture. It's like,
I have a friend who was on the front cover of a national magazine for sports, and he gave me a copy of that front cover, and so I had this made up and gave it to him, but I didn't tell him for about a year that mine was phony, and his was real. So,
yeah.
but this is what I call the Miller's Falls corner. I collect Miller's Falls stuff mainly, I think, because the first plane that I ever bought in my life was a Miller's Falls.
That big 7, right?
Yes, it's a number 7 size Miller's Falls, and I've got a lot of this Miller's Falls stuff in various types of tools, but some of these are extremely nice.
Just a little shiny.
You know, this one, for instance, is fairly shiny.
Ooh. It's a Buck Rogers.
It's called a Buck Rogers type plane, yes.
Yeah, that's just cool. That's cool. I remember the first time seeing one of these was wild.
And of course,
I'll take that home.
they're they do get shinier than that, however. I'm going to put some of this stuff down here out of the way so I can get to that plane.
Grab that.
All right, just put it back there now. Now, this is what I love to find.
Oh, number 8. Oh, is that
That's a
heavy?
number 8. It's a 24-inch jointer plane with the corrugated bottom. It's never been used ever. It's never been sharpened up, even honed up. It's just a factory grind on the blade.
Beautiful.
And
You just got that, didn't you?
no, I've had this for about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
But this is the way I like to get them. I like shiny stuff. But my Miller's Falls stuff does get even shinier. And I have an example of the number 209, which is a deluxe smooth plane there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
won't try to pull it out.
Yeah.
I'll just show you one of my others that is easier to get to. And you'll have to agree that they do get shinier. This one is not nickel plated, it's chromium plated, including the cutter, and everything on it is chromium plated, just like a bumper of an automobile or something. So they do get shinier. I don't know Did I have any shinier than that?
Everybody-
Unless it might be this one.
Ooh, ooh.
This one here is nickel plated, nickel chrome. And when I got this, it didn't have any finish on it whatsoever. It had been stripped. And I told the guy, I took the parts off and I took them to a plating company and I told them I wanted them to plate these, but I didn't want them to look like a bumper guard from a 1950 Buick. And I got them back and they look like a bumper guard from a 1950 Buick. But I like it because
Hey,
I like
look,
shiny.
Shiny's good. Shiny's
That's right.
good.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, there's always something else. It's like a kid in a candy store.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you want to look at. I've got, you know, it's all a mishmash around here. But
Tell us about this again. This is
well, that's a very unusual compound miter box. It's not for moldings. It's used for timbers, for making like brace measurements and so forth in heavier construction, I believe. But it has the ability to cut compound angles, as you can see.
That's cool.
This goes there. You can set your angle and your tilt angle. And for the thickness of the material, this opens up and the timber lays in the box. And this is adjustable for height. This can be raised up for thicker pieces. So, but this is one of only about 3 of these that are known in collections around the country. And one of the, I'd say the main reason that this is so rare,
Here, I'll take this.
the patentee is a guy by the name of DeVoe, and he was in Cleveland, Ohio, and he patented this thing and started, or he applied for a patent, and then started to manufacture these. And then 3 days after his patent was issued, he fell from a high scaffold working on a church in Cleveland and was killed. So this company really never hardly got off the ground at all to manufacture these.
So there's 3 of these in collections.
There's 3 that I've heard of, yes, and this being one of the 3.
Wow.
So,
Auction?
no, I bought this from a member of Midwest Tool Collectors Association, who did the research on the thing. Gil Ganberg from Cincinnati, and as I say, he did some research about the owner of it, the patentee, and all of that, and I have those papers as well with it that he turned over to me when I bought it from him. So it was. I've got too many miter boxes. I like mitering tools, and I've got too many of them.
There's always room for 1 or 2 more.
Well, there's always room for one more if they're like this one. If we can get this open. Yeah, there.
Was it that big heavy one?
Yeah, well.
This is, oh, is that heavy? Oh, yeah.
There's always room for one more if they're like this one. This, by the way, is the only known example of this tool in the entire United States today. This is a miter trimmer. The capacity is only 2 inches for the moldings that it would cut or trim. And these machines are typically much, much larger.
Real big.
Yes.
They'll do 4 inches or 6 inches, I think.
Yes, yes, they will.
And they also got the ones with the big ship's wheels on them. Really cool stuff. But
Right.
this is rare.
Right.
Never.
And this one was manufactured in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and by the W.R. Fox company. And they made all the large ones too, even the foot pedal operated ones, you know, the large ones. But they were the only company that manufactured this small one. And as I say, to my knowledge, this is the only one of these that there is out there. No one's ever seen one or has one in their collection that I know of.
I can see who using that for delicate work, because that's just
Well,
really...
Well, I do use this
Oh, yeah,
occasionally. It's
Oh yeah,
quite,
that's a good user.
quite a good user. But and as far as the rest of the collection, I mean, there's, as I say, I do have lots of miter boxes, and they take up a lot of room. This is an aluminum miter box by Stanley. It has all the right stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's all kinds of mitering tools over in here and so forth.
Let's look at the saws over here real quick.
All
For
right.
all the saw boys,
Okay.
they'll start laughing when they see this wall here.
Well, I got a lot of hand saws, no question.
Just a couple here.
Well, actually, Slav, I don't have
You've told
very many hand saws compared to a lot of hand saw collectors. I've only got about 350 saws, and I know people that got thousands of them.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just a small-time collector. Probably 20 years ago now, I was in charge of a project to remodel the entire first floor of the Marshall Field store downtown Chicago. And this is just half of a cabinet that was in there, and they were throwing this stuff in the dumpsters, you know. And I salvaged this one, and I've got this full of all sorts of planes and tools. There's but it was originally installed in the original Marshall Field store in 1913, and it's mahogany, Honduras mahogany, and it's kind of seen better days, but it's still very useful. So that's like me. I've seen better days, and I'm trying to be useful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you changed this around. Before there was all the saws in here.
Well, yeah, I've moved some stuff around a little bit. I just got this hammer.
Oh, that's just for you.
Pinkies up. Pinkies up. I think it's for ladies. It's a Vaughan hammer, and
Oh, it's a Vaughan, yeah.
it's a Vaughan hammer.
Wow. The wood handle
The
too.
little pink hammer from Vaughan. And so this will, you're always talking about pinkies up. Well, hold up your pinky.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's my favorite right there.
Here's something I got out in Davenport for 20 bucks. Jones cable saw. But no cable in it. But I know how to fix them, so. Here.
Where's that saw you had that one time? You showed me where you...
Oh, you mean
the
the
weird-
square hole saw?
no, the one... you did a design with the tooth, remember? You showed me how it cut?
Oh,
You had just...
you mean the BMT?
Was it a BMT? We're
Yeah.
looking at your saws back here.
You're talking about?
The one that you did some experimenting with.
Well, the one that originally came from you, right? I got this one.
When I was an apprentice in the 80s, there was nobody to sharpen saws.
Yeah.
You know, nobody. And
Right.
that, you know, Garrett,
Right.
you know, when I was in New York City.
Well, there were saw sharpeners, but they were all not hand. They were Foley machine
Right.
filers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the way it was for me also, and I finally started to sharpen saws for myself, but it was kind of under duress, so to speak. I worked with a fellow by the name of Fritz Blom. He's from Germany. He'd done his apprenticeship in Germany. He was one of the finest carpenters I ever worked with, by the way. He was not only very accurate, but he was very fast.
Ooh,
and
natural.
And he was a natural, but he was also, like many Germans, very, very blunt and outspoken. And one day we were working in a Marshall Field store up in Old Orchard, and quitting time, he was looking around for something. I said, "What are you looking for, Fritz?" And he said, "I'm looking for a piece of newspaper or something. I want to take my handsaw home and I want to touch it up." And I said, "Well, what? You mean you sharpen your own saws?" He says, "Yeah, don't you?" I said, "No, I never sharpen a saw. I send mine out." And he says, very typically German, he said, "Any mechanic that can't sharpen his own tools is not worth a shit." and I thought, well, I guess I know where I stand with him. And so I took that to heart, but I didn't do anything about it right away. But about a week later, I got a copy of the Fine Woodworking magazine, and Toshio Odate was being interviewed, the Japanese guru carpenter or cabinet maker, and he says, his question, they were talking in the interview about apprentices and so forth, and he said, "Well, it's very hard to get good apprentices, and in my opinion, any person who can't sharpen their own tools is not worth their salt." He cleaned it up a little, but I thought, what, twice inside of a month I've had people chastising me, so I went out and I got a saw filing vise, and I bought some 3-corner files, and I got a book, and I started learning how to sharpen my own saws. And I don't sharpen for other people, but I do sharpen my own. and they don't look anywhere near as good as Darrell Weir. Well, no, I didn't try to lord it over him, but eventually I believe I did get to be a better filer than he was, frankly, because I got into the nuances of the geometry and for hardwood or for softwood and so on. And I think he was just generally trying to get his saws to perform well to his satisfaction, but I don't think he got into the real nuances of the thing.
Yeah.
I consider Darrell Weir the best saw filer in the country. There are a couple of others that are close, but I consider him to be the best because his stuff looks like it was done on a machine.
Yeah.
And I know that the machine hasn't been anywhere near it, but he's that consistent, and his saws cut beautifully. I hope you get a shot of this especially prepared workbench area here. This is the way a workbench should really look. I mean, nothing in its place, and a place for nothing.
Well, hey, in the middle of the stuff's all over the place. It's fine. Hey, that's why I come over and clean up a little bit. You need a sweeping, Matt.
Oh well, we don't need that. I keep telling you, I don't ask you to do that, and I don't even appreciate it. If you want to know the truth.
The reason I brought up, Darrell, is when I was an apprentice, there was nobody doing this stuff, and
Well, there's been a big resurgence on handwork in general, and particularly saw filing. It's a big deal now.
yeah, I mean, I'm just shocked at it. I mean, I was telling people, it's the renaissance in hand tools. I mean, there's just so much knowledge. I mean,
Absolutely.
before to find, when I was at Leeds, I made a, you saw the cabinet dovetail. That was using a lousy distant dovetail saw that was machine sharpened. I mean, left a big curve. you know, it was just, and I could never get used to Japanese saws, you know,
Well,
but it's just amazing, you know, all the stuff that's been going on. And
well, you know, I don't use any, I try not to use any Japanese tools because I haven't forgotten Pearl Harbor. That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's a sign of my generation, I guess.
Yeah, but, you know, like we were saying, the tools, I mean, like this, you know, Lee Nielsen stuff.
Yes.
Carl, I mean, it's, you know, never when I was in the 80s, you know, as an apprentice, thought they'd be making, you know, all this great stuff.
Right.
And, you know, like
Well,
this,
and the Veritas line is
Yeah.
also very nice.
yeah, but like this thing here, if you found the Stanley one, it's worth a couple grand, right?
Oh, yeah, closer to 3.
And this is what, 300 or something?
Yeah, I don't know, when I bought that, what it cost, it was
Yeah.
about 260, I think.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
like, I mean, you know, you can't, the stuff that you could buy today is just amazing, you know. Like,
The interesting thing there, what you have, this is a Veritas block plane, and I've got the tail on it and so forth, but it's kind of as a side note, these are made in Canada, but not entirely. Because many of the castings, and possibly even this one that I hold in my hand, was made right here in LaPorte, Indiana.
yes.
And there's a foundry company here that makes not all, but a portion of the castings, the rough castings, and they ship them to Lee,
Valley.
Robin Lee, I guess
Yeah.
the guy's name is, and they finish them up in Canada. But it's kind of interesting that this tool, even though it came from Canada to me, it might have gone from here to Canada in
and
the
back.
first place, and now back again.
You know,
So-
it's amazing the stuff that they're making. I mean, I just put my hands up and go, no mas.
Well,
It's, you know.
These, by the way, my opinion of the Lee Valley Veritas tools is very high. I think they're on a par.
Oh, yeah.
They're on a par, in my opinion, with
Oh.
the Lee Nielsen tools.
You know, I gotta hand it to them for, you know,
I'll hand
redesigning
it to
stuff. You know, yeah, I'm just, you know, I got their new block plane. I traded a buddy of mine to get it, and
Yeah, I
really
know.
like it.
What do I got to do to get that?
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Well, you know what? We could find something to trade, Carl. I'm sure there's something.
Well, yeah, maybe a panther head saw or
Yeah,
something.
we could do
but
something like
I
that.
don't think so.
Maybe a shiny saw.
No,
Maybe just a little
no.
bit.
No, all I got to do to get one of those is
Hey, you know
rob
what?
a bank.
You know what? Let's blackmail Sawboy.
Yeah.
Let's get him down here, and I'll give you mine.
I do have a high dollar plane, however,
What do you got?
that I really can't
Oh, is
afford.
that the? Oh, I remember that. That's the.
Here, I'll let you unveil it.
Oh yeah, Rainy.
Yes, that's a Rainy Nelson,
Yeah, this
Smoother.
is sweet. This is
And,
really nice.
and I made a trade for that. I couldn't afford to buy it outright, but he made me a trade deal that I really couldn't turn down.
Yeah, gold.
And it's a wonderful plane. It really is terrific to use.
I got the smaller one from
Yeah.
him when he was here in Chicago, and I'm
Yeah.
really happy to have it. But this
Yeah,
is this
He,
is
he
really
does
nice.
excellent work. And of course, it looks like ebony, but it's actually African blackwood, is what it is.
You know, another example of the Renaissance today is, you know, when I was an apprentice, you know, you only had the David Stanley auction, Brown auction to get good old tools, you know, like the Norrises, and, you know, I was fortunate enough through Maurice Fraser to learn about that, and
Yes.
never I thought people would be making this stuff.
Oh,
You know, it's like,
yeah.
you know, and Bob Baker, you know, God rest his soul, great guy. It's too bad we lost him a couple of years ago, but, you know, from him and, you know, up to Wayne and,
Right.
you know, it's just amazing.
Yeah, Wayne
you know?
Anderson's a great maker also.
You know, I mean,
Yes.
so the bar is, I'm just amazed at how the bar is, you know, I'm
Yeah.
just sitting back going, oh man, this is, the
Yeah.
stuff that's being made, I just, you know, I'm just shocked by it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it coming.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
it's,
this is the Bob Baker, right?
yes,
Yeah.
that was one of Bob Baker's early planes. That's one of the 4 tools that were featured in Fine Woodworking magazine. I bought that one and a chariot plane that I have over in the case from Bob.
1983.
1983.
You know,
Yes, yes, that was one of the early ones that he made, and that has this plane and the chariot plane that I bought from him at that time are unique, almost unique, in that he made about 6 or so planes that had not just steel soles, but stainless steel soles. And this is a stainless steel sole, and it's all hand filed, dovetailed to the brass, and he quit making them that way early on because the stainless steel was just too hard. It was just really a very laborious to file all these dovetails and so forth.
You know, I got to meet him a few times up in New Hampshire at the Donnelly auction. He bought a bunch of files from me, and I had stainless steel files, and it's, you know, he taught me a great deal. Just a class guy. Shame this
yes, and here
lost them early.
Here is what came with them. This is a note from Bob Baker about the authenticity, and he says, enclosed are the 2 metal planes shown in the March-April '84 issue of Fine Woodworking magazine. I hope you are happy with them. Please let me know if you have any trouble with them. They are both lacquered, so they may get chipped up if you use them much. You can take it off with a little lacquer thinner, okay? Good luck with the job, and thanks for this order. Best regards, Bob.
Class act.
He's, as you said, he's sorely missed in the tool community.
He would do repairs on tools, braces. Like, what are those braces with the ivory?
The
ultimatums. Yeah.
Ultimatum braces.
He would do repairs on stuff that you'd never be able to see that it was repaired. That was the word, the skinny on him is if he did a repair, you wouldn't know there was a repair.
Well, there's something more about Bob Baker and his repair work that I don't know how many people are aware of it, but Bob Baker used to do saw handles, repair saw handles.
Oh, really?
But he quit totally. He refused to do any saw handle repairs. And I asked him why, and he said, well, because it takes a great deal of time, and I charge a decent amount for my time, and in some saws, they're so bad that it takes several hours of labor, and the bill that I have to give people for that is worth more than the saw itself in a lot of cases. And if you give somebody a bill for $250 to fix a handle, they expect that repair to be absolutely perfect, and you cannot make it absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And so all it does for, what he said is, all it does for me is generate unsatisfied customers. And so I don't take any saw handles at all. And,
Wow.
and in a way, that's kind of how I got into it. And that's why, that is the main reason that I don't charge people for repairing saw handles. Because my time isn't as valuable as Bob Baker's time was. Yeah. And I do it as a courtesy to other members of Midwest Tool. And I don't want them complaining about my workmanship because I charged them $250. So it's basically that's how I got into it when he kind of quit, and that's why I don't charge for the service.
But what a, you know.
Oh, by the way, I do charge for the postage.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I see something here. Oh, this is that little plane here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
12 pounder.
Oh. Now, fill us in on this, Carl. This is great. This is great.
That's a plane that is quite old. It's a pre-lateral, if you'll notice. There's no lateral adjustment.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
And some probably pattern maker took a Stanley transitional plane and made a pattern for a cast iron box, and then filled that box with rosewood. That's Brazilian rosewood.
Wow.
On the infill portions, and did a magnificent job of workmanship in mating the rosewood to the cast iron. The cast iron is beveled, chamfered all the way around, and the rosewood is beautifully pillowed out over that. It's just a superb job of workmanship. And then the guy used the beechwood tote and a beechwood knob. And I can't imagine why he didn't go ahead all the way and put rosewood on there too. But this is one of my favorite tools, and I use it. This is my user. As you see, it's underneath my bench. And this thing weighs a full 12 pounds. And
a club beat.
I use it basically for joining edges, but once it gets going, it keeps going.
Yeah, you ain't stopping
because of the weight of it. But it's if you look at the mouth, turn it up there so you can see the mouth.
The mouth is fine.
The mouth is very, very fine, much more fine than you would find on most jointer planes.
Oh yeah.
So it just does a beautiful job of work, and I'd say out of all the tools I own, that's in the top 5.
I remember when you got this, you were telling me about it. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see this.
Well, I did have to part with some cash to get it.
Yeah, I remember you.
That's. But I don't think I would sell it for a lot more, than what I paid for it. But still. Oh yes. Well, that's another user.
Now you collect also homemade.
That's right. I collect homemade stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is where this came in.
This is a user-made scraper plane, and I believe that it was designed for, of all things, for scraping soft woods.
Yes.
It does a beautiful job on pine or anything like that. It doesn't do a really nice job on hardwoods because the angle here is not adjustable. It's 90 degrees.
That's it.
And you put a burnished edge, and by the way, it's double-ended cutter, but you burnish the edge over and with a hook, and that hook engages the soft wood fibers head on, and shears them off just as smooth as silk. Now, if it were tilted over like a regular scraper plane, it would be kind of rolling over the tops of those soft fibers, and it'd kind of wool it all up. This works really great.
I remember you saying on hardwoods you were first trying this and you couldn't get it to work for nothing.
No, I paid way too much for it too because well, you know, I asked my granddaughter the other night why she had such an easy job selling me stuff for raising money for the orchestra, you know, at school, and I gave her $44 for a little bitty bits of stuff she gave me, you know, and I said I really don't understand why you can get me to pay $44 for this little bit of stuff, and she says, well, it's because you're old and senile. So. But I wasn't old and senile when I bought that, but nonetheless, I paid too much for it.
I'm trying to look at other cool stuff you got here. Other interesting stories. But there was that one saw, I can't remember which one it was.
Well, you know,
You got
everybody,
so many.
everybody knows me as a saw guy, but I've got a lot more planes than I have
Yeah.
saws. And I have other tools as well, you know, and I do like user-made tools. There's quite a few of them around here.
Yeah.
I won't dig them out.
Yeah, we could spend all day just going through stuff.
Yeah, well, right there on that bench, though, that's a collection I'm putting together. Those are all bedrock planes, and they're all in the same general vintage with the lever cap with the orange background behind Stanley. And I'm still looking for one more before I clean them all up and use it as a display at a tool meet somewhere. I have all of the planes, the bedrocks that were made with that type of lever cap, except
Late 30s, right?
well, yeah, after 1936, I think. But I still need one that I haven't been able to find.
What size is that?
Well, that's 604.5 smooth bottom.
Oh, okay.
And I found them, but they haven't been up to my standard for something I'd want to display. So I'm still looking for that one last one, and once I find it, I'll clean all those up.
You know, I wish I would have thought of it about having you set up the saw displays that you had. What did you have at your show in LaPorte? What was that saw display on?
Well, that was on a very rare saws, not necessarily shiny saws, but saws that were extremely rare.
Okay.
And I have a few of those.
Just a couple. Just
Yeah,
a couple.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Most of the time, I'm looking for shiny saws, but I do buy them even if they're not very shiny, if they're extremely rare.
I wish I would have thought of that. Next time we'll try to set some of those displays up, because those are always cool to see at the show.
Well, as you can look around, you can see there's not a whole lot of places to set up a display down here.
A little bit of cleaning up. A little bit of cleaning up,
yeah.
we could get it set up.
Yeah, a hand grenade or two and a bulldozer, and you'd have this place cleaned out in no time.
Let me get the...
Yeah.
What's that little saw here?
That's one I made.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, let's get that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of my most expensive tools right here.
It is?
Yes. It's an aluminum 45.
Oh.
Complete with everything, including the box and the screwdriver and the whole thing. This is complete. It's complete, including the original booklet.
Oh, wow.
That's right. And,
Oh, yeah. All aluminum, nothing
and
new.
the booklet is marked A45, combination plane. And,
Got my glasses on. Did
and
you get
the-
this at auction?
no, I've had it for a long time, but
Where'd you find it at?
I bought it from my boss at the company where I worked.
Oh, yeah.
And he got it from Brownlow.
He's the one who had a great collection of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
he had high dollar stuff.
High dollar stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I paid him quite a bit for this, but the box is just marked with a paper label pasted on there, aluminum,
Yeah.
one number 45 plane, but the directions are marked with the A45 designation on it.
Oh.
So it's all original, it has the original screwdriver that you normally don't find.
Oh, yeah.
The original screwdriver is with it. Everything is there.
Didn't you get that saw from him also?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
yes, I
that
did.
was the one you really wanted bad. This was
Yeah, that was a saw with levels in the handle.
yeah, that was really cool.
Level valves.
And
Well, anyway, that's
Yeah.
That plane there is, I think, the most I paid for any tool that I own. That particular A45, and my collection is not extremely valuable like a lot of collections. I paid $2,300 for that, and that's the most I ever paid for a tool. So that's just pauper. That's coffee money for a lot of these guys. You know?
Yeah. Well, I pulled out a couple other things that were interesting.
Yeah.
You know, again, going back to my apprenticeship when we were talking about people doing stuff, because
Yeah.
nobody was doing that. And, you know, here's that other plane by
Oh yeah,
Bob
this
Baker.
is my other Bob Baker, also with a stainless steel bottom, and it was as I said earlier, it was featured in Fine Woodworking magazine in 1984.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have used this, but I don't use it very often. But I do use the Baker that's over on the shelf there, the small miter plane. I use that frequently.
Yeah.
Whenever there's some grain that just wants to tear out and I want to clean it up, usually the Bob Baker will take care of that.
Yeah. And for all the saw boys out there.
Oh well, this is really valuable.
Yes.
This is a. I have a friend named Jay Ricketts that lives in the Atlanta, Georgia area there, and he is a saw guy, or
Just a couple
and he used to do weekend workshops on tools at what's that place in Atlanta?
Oh, yeah.
The big hardware store.
Yeah,
Anyway, he was doing a deal on Saturday and Sunday, showing how to make a small saw and all of that. And he had an extra handle and an extra piece of saw steel that he sent me, and he gets the split nuts he got from Lee Nielsen, and he sent me this stuff, and so I figured I had to make a saw out of it. But I went a little further, and that is, I put a removable back. This is a rosewood back, and it's a tiger maple handle, but it's a removable back, and so that you can actually cut through the small piece, or you can put the back on it very quickly. It's notched for here. And there's a block of hard rubber at this point that I just sliced through with a utility knife. And then when you put that on there
Locks it in.
and push that down, then it locks it right in place. So
Nice
that's,
job.
I'm going to patent it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. From Sawboy Senior. This is
Yeah.
cool. This is cool,
Yeah.
Carl. That's great.
Yeah.
And you want to give this to me, right?
Oh, sure. Just because you're such a nice guy.
Yes,
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, this is one that took me a long time to get. I've had 7 different number 1s over the years, but this is the one I was trying to get because of the orange label.
Oh, that's right.
I'm the guy that likes orange labels, that's all.
No,
But there is one other tool. Ironically, it's right here where I can lay my hands on it.
Oh.
This right here is one of my favorite tools of all,
Oh.
because of a number of things, but basically because it came from Dr. Ronald Pearson, who was as you know, past president of Midwest Tool Collectors Association, now no longer with us, but at any rate, this is a plumb bob that has a reel for the string inside, and there's a button on the side here. You push the button and you pull the string out. There's the string, and you push the button again and it jumps back in. It's spring loaded. It looks like a grandfather clock or something if you take it apart. This you can take this off and you can see it looks like a clock movement inside.
That's wild.
And the reason that it's so valuable to me is Dr. Pearson was a good friend of mine. One of the first people that I met 30-some years ago when I first started collecting tools. And believe it or not, when I was already a collector when he first started, and I was kind of, in a very mild way, a mentor of his when he first started, and then he went along and became even president of the organization.
Yeah.
But we were acquainted for many, many years, and he came to me one day and said that he had bought a panther head saw at a farm auction, but it needed a lot of work, and he wanted to know if I would repair it for him. And I said, sure, I'll repair it for you. And I did. I repaired it, and I did a fairly good job. And he wanted to know how much I would be charging, and I said, nothing. I'm not charging you anything. I don't charge Midwest members. And basically, I knew that, you know, Ron would probably sell it because he did set up and sell. But since he was a special person, I decided, hey, I don't care what he does with it. If he makes $1,000 on it, I don't care. But there's no charge. And he said, well, no, he says, I can't do that. He says, I got to pay you something. I said, no, I don't want anything. And so he said, well, you know, he says, I got some of those plumb bobs with the retractable string. And he says, I've sold them all that I had. I had a few of those that I bought years back. But he says, I've got one that needs repaired. It doesn't work. And if you think you could fix it, well, I'll give you that. And I said, well, yeah. My motto is, if I can't fix it, it ain't broke. Yep. Okay? So anyway, for the next few months, every time I'd see him, he'd say, you know, he says, I can't find that plumb bob. I've looked everywhere, but I'm still looking for it. I'm still looking for that plumb bob. And I told him, I said, well, I told you before, you don't owe me anything. And about a year went by, and it came to pass that Dr. Pearson had terminal cancer. And I called him, knowing that he had only been given 2 or 3 weeks. And I called him basically to say my goodbyes, you know, because he, and he was so gracious at that time that it was amazing. He was only concerned that he had not given me this plumb bob and that he had not found it. And he was still in his last week of life. He's still trying to fulfill his commitment. And 2 days, a couple of days before he passed away, this came in the mail with this note. And I think you can very well see why this is one of my favorite tools of all that I have. And he says, in his note, he says, Dear Carl, surprise. Please find enclosed the long missing Now's patent plumb bob. My son David found it last night in an obscure box along with instructions. If you examine the bob closely, you'll find an obstruction in the hole in the cap. It appears to me that a machinist could drive out the stainless steel insert and replace it with a new one. The plumb bob takes 20-pound monofilament fishing line and will easily hold 30 feet. I've enclosed plenty of line for you. Call me if you have any questions. With warmest regards, Ron. To me, a person that right up to his last days is trying to fulfill a commitment is a rare and valuable person.
Yeah.
And I'll always have this
Yeah.
one. Nobody could give me enough money for this.
Yeah.
So,
Ron Pearson was a class act.
yes, a class act, absolutely.
I got the pleasure to know him being at a few shows together. He always happened to be right near me.
Yeah.
And so in between, I'd walk over and look at his stuff. And he
Yeah.
always had a Davis level there, and I'm drooling over it.
Yeah.
And one day we were talking after 3 or 4 shows. I told him someday I'm going to get one of these, but you know, I just
Yeah.
couldn't afford to
Yeah.
put the money into one. He goes, "So I'll just get me in 6, 7 months, whenever." I'm
Well-
like, "Oh my God."
Well,
So
you know,
he's
Ron Pearson is an example of many people in Midwest Tool Collectors Association that have that kind of integrity and just great people. I've met only a handful of people in 30 years or so in the organization that I would say I'd avoid. You know,
Yeah.
that's why I tell people that I'm trying to get to join the group.
yeah, we've talked.
I always tell prospective members that collecting tools and particularly belonging to Midwest Tool Collectors Association has given me more pleasure in my life than anything else I've ever done with my clothes on. So that tells you where I stand.
You know,
One thing I have noticed, I don't blog and stuff like that. I'm technologically challenged when it comes to all this electronics and all of that.
but you know how to get the wood net?
But I do look at the wood net, and I've been very surprised, and maybe not so surprised, but somewhat surprised that Matt Cianci blogged about tooth configurations, how you should sharpen back saws, and he had some theories and so forth, how it was done in the past, and what we maybe should be doing now, and so on. And I've noticed, this was about 2 or 3 days ago he did this, and there's already like 307 people have chimed in on this subject, you know. So the interest that's being generated on such things as that is somewhat surprising to me, really. You know, I thought I was the only one who cared.
Well, you know, it's everybody. That's the great thing about Midwest is finding the people that, you know, that are into the same thing. When I met Daryl for the first time, you know, I know that he turned out to be such a good friend for 11, 12 years now, and I've met so many great people through there, and
Yeah.
you know, it's in the knowledge. I watched at the Garfield show. We had a little party at the shop, and Daryl was over with Whitney, and just watching those two just go nonstop, it was hilarious. I was
Yeah.
just watching, and they were both asking questions on each other's field, from violins to finish. Whitney wanted to know about saw sharpening, and Daryl wanted to know about finishing, which Whitney knew, and it was just wild to sit back and just listen to these people just go at it and what was going through. And the thing is, the knowledge being shared. That's the great thing with the internet, and when we have our Cats Club, when we do stuff is, Carl, we're all builders first. I always say I'm a woodworker first, collector, then dealer. I like to put in teacher now a little bit, but but it's just it's just great.
I'm not a builder. I'm a builder back.
Yes, you are. You are a builder back. yeah. So
I just had to throw that in, or throw it out.
Yeah. Carl, thank you for having us over.
Well,
Thank you
it's
very
been a
much.
pleasure.
And
It's probably a whole lot more interesting than the debate that I missed.